Hi, I'm Dr. BJ Hardick with Maximize Living. I'm here with my friend Becca. We're talking this month about how to have a healthy brain and the importance of keeping a fit brain and how that relates to your entire health. You know, as much as we talk about diet, exercise, detox, lifestyle practices, many people don't realize just how much of an impact trauma has on the health of their brain and therefore the health of the entire nervous system and therefore the health of the entire body. You know, Becca and I were going to talk about your experience having had a concussion that was very, very bad. Most people don't realize that when you deal with brain trauma earlier in your lifetime, that can lead to all types of brain problems later in your life. So although we often come in once there's already a problem with dementia or cognitive decline or forgetfulness, we really should have come in when there were these initial traumas earlier on in life, and that's what we're going to talk about. You know, most people don't realize that Sidney Crosby, who had a concussion a few years ago now and received a lot of notoriety in the press for overcoming his concussion, going on and winning gold medals, most people don't realize that most of his care was at Life University, which is the chiropractic school that I attended, and he received advanced chiropractic care, the model for which the Maximize Living corrective adjustments are designed upon. You know, so it has to be recognized that when somebody has a concussion, yes, there is this major rattling and trauma to the brain, but when you go through that much trauma to your brain, you obviously go through that much trauma to the neck. And what I have always seen is that we often focus a lot on the trauma to the brain, and people forget that people like Sidney Crosby and so many other people like Becca have addressed the other problems in the neck and actually seen so many of their problems go away. So why don't you just share with our audience here, you know, first of all, you know, how the concussion happened, what types of symptoms you had in the first place. How was that when you first had the injury?
Sure. So about 2.5 years ago, I had a pretty significant trauma. I fell about 5 feet onto the concrete and I hit the back of my neck and head here.
Yeah.
I immediately went to the doctor to seek some help. Unfortunately, I just kind of got the same old, you know, lay in a dark room, don't use screens, it will pass.
Right.
I was hopeful with that. I did what they prescribed, and unfortunately, about 2 to 4 weeks later, I still wasn't seeing any improvements. I had severe pain in the back of my neck and at the low end of my head there. I had significant blurry vision. I was unable to lock in and focus on objects. I was unable to read, just purely because I couldn't get the focus of what was in front of me.
Yep.
I had severe nausea, you know, loss of appetite, which is pretty normal with that. Ringing in the ears, sensitivity to light, to noise, and basically it just took over my whole being.
Yeah.
It felt as though part of me was gone and this new concussion person was there.
Yeah.
And it was very scary because you see the world through your eyes and you see through your senses, and it was like part of that was taken away from me.
Well, and oftentimes when people do go through this type of injury, they're told that they're going to have to just live with it until it just goes away. You know, were you given any type of timeline as to when your body should get better, just laying in a dark room and letting it pass?
Right. It was very vague. It was about, well, for some people it can last a few weeks, for some people a few months. So I was hoping that I would be one of the few that it only lasts a few weeks. However, you know, 2 months went by, 3 months went by, and I was like, there has to be something else I can do. There has to be some way I can help rehabilitate myself because I wasn't satisfied with where I was, and I wanted to get back to how I was and live my full life.
Yeah.
So I had, that being said, I had the very severe pain in the back of my neck, and this would cause really bad headaches every day. I'd wake up with headaches, I'd go to bed with headaches. I always had a dull ache right here.
Yeah.
So bad that it would come up into the back of my head and into the left eye. And for that reason, I thought something must be wrong with the neck. So I went in to see Dr. Hardick, and we did some x-rays, and sure enough, there were some misalignments in the neck there that was also causing some vision issues as well. So after a few adjustments, it was like a night and day. The pain immediately started to subside. After doing my care plan for about maybe 2 months, I noticed that I wasn't waking up with headaches anymore. I didn't have this pain that was distracting, and I finally started to feel like at least that part of me was starting to heal. And without having the chiropractic care, it wouldn't have healed as it did. It wouldn't have healed as fast as it did. And it really helped with the pain.
And what about the blurry vision and the nausea, because all these other symptoms that are associated with post-concussion syndrome?
Yeah, so with the blurry vision, I noticed that the adjustments did help. It almost was if after I went for my adjustment, it almost like cleared my vision and cleared my brain. It was kind of weird, but it was like, I loved it.
Yeah.
I needed that. So it really helped improve my vision. It helped with the nausea because I didn't have the blurry vision, which led to nausea, and so did the pain. After seeing Dr. Hardick for a year now, I feel like those symptoms have significantly subsided. I don't have any problems with light sensitivity or noise. The pain is completely gone. I never get headaches anymore. The nausea is completely gone. And the vision we're still working through, but it has been such a significant change because at one point I thought, is this going to be my new normal?
Yeah.
So thankfully we've.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with acknowledging that you're still healing even a year later, because oftentimes I'll work with people who dealt with a concussion 20, 30 years ago, and they still have all the same problems, but they're worse 30 years later.
Yes.
You know, so again, I think the big connection here, just for our audience, is that, you know, obviously when there's this trauma to the head, neck, obviously there's a trauma to the brain, but when you think about the way the meninges of the spinal cord, the way they actually attach to the upper cervical vertebrae as well, man, if there's twisting and torquing of the neck, you're forever gonna have these neurological consequences.
Yeah.
So that's where obviously chiropractic plays such a role. But before we go, why don't you just give a little bit of a gleaming of hope as to also how you apply the other 5 essentials, looking at mindset, nutrition, detoxification, fitness, and how that's helped to contribute to your big transformation as well.
Definitely. So what I've really learned in myself is that concussion and brain injuries are a very holistic view and approach for healing. Chiropractic being the main, as it controls the spine and all the nerves. But you do need to focus on your nutrition. I found that eating brain healthy foods really helped me in that sense. Fitness levels, watching what I could do. Of course, I can't push it to the extreme, but monitoring what I could do really helped get the energy levels back up from my fatigue that was from the concussion. Getting the right mindset really helped. I read some books on concussion just so I could learn more about it and didn't feel like I was so alone.
Yes.
I practiced meditation 3 times a day to help get my central nervous system back aligned and in balance because it was out of whack.
Yeah.
And that helped me kind of be more at peace and feel more centered.
Yeah. Did you practically start an actual detox regimen with us? I don't totally recall.
I didn't.
No, okay.
No.
Well, there's one more piece still to go.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. Yes.
And that's where I find with the 5 essentials that you can always go deeper.
Yes.
You know, I mean, the baseline is obviously to maintain healthy mindset, healthy nervous system, healthy quality nutrition, optimum levels of fitness, and a perpetual detoxification. But you know what, within each of those levels, you can just keep getting better and better and better. And I think that's what you've demonstrated is so obvious. Thank you for sharing your story.
No, thank you.
I think the big gleaming of hope here for anybody watching this is that when you meet people who've had these traumatic injuries and they're told that they have to live with these things long term, there's often hope, you know, and hope in my experience starts with maximized living. So if you have friends that need to hear this story, make sure that they can get an assessment or a consultation, and never stop exploring, because we certainly never want to underestimate the power of the body to heal itself and never underestimate the power of maximized living.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.